All right, third grade, finally, Unit 5 materials are here. So I have the new math room fresh off the press today. I'll explain a few things on there. Again, it's better used if you're in present mode, because then the kids can just press on various things and it goes straight to it. But I put a bunny in there just for, since it's almost Easter. But if you go to the calendar, that's going to be all dealing with money, because in the month of February you did some things with money, and I just thought they probably need a lot more practice with money. So here are some videos of me doing songs of money. Then you have the famous Jack Hartman that they could listen and dance to, and then practicing with money in all these games. Okay, some of my favorite games. And then you have Unit 5 multiplication division ideas. So we did use the skip count before. That's all those different skip count videos for them. Then you have all these great books. These are all read alouds. So you could pick one of these one day to do with your kids and mute it. And then you could read it. Or if you like the way they read it, you could do that. Act it out as you go. And then this one is just a great division practice site on Math Playground. And I have a video of me talking through it for 3 minutes of how you actually do it. And you could spend a day in your class doing this, okay? And what's nice is it levels up too. So you have, this is third grade when you just have 2-digit dividends. And the check mark would be actually here. And I show that in the video with no remainder. But you could have kids working with remainders, or they make up their own division problem that they want to figure out, and they can use these visuals to help them figure it out. So it's really cool. So I put a video in there. And then multiplication practice. So if you look at the times table, here's just practicing the facts, and I've had that before. Multiplication by heart is awesome. Log in every time they do it, so it keeps track of the facts they need to work on. This one's not a login, but they just figure out how much time am I going to spend today practicing some facts and what kind of facts am I going to do. Then you have word problems. We've used this before, and again, they're going to press multiply and divide, and it gives them hints with a visual picture with various problems. Maybe you want to do this as a class, and you're going to do a problem a day or something. I don't know, but it's a good resource to have. And then the thinking cap is going to take them to Bridges' site of their at-home activities, but I thought they could go through these and find one of them that looks good to them and open it up and maybe print it out and try it out. It's going to take them more than a day to figure out, okay? If I go back to the math room, then you have Math Playground, and these are all the games that I picked out on Math Playground that are good for multiplication division. On this one in particular, the puzzles, if you've done these before, they can pick what kind of fact they're going to practice. So if they pick 7, all of these are going to be divided by 7. All right. The other one to note is Break Apart, one of my favorites from Greg Tang. So here's a video of me talking through it. I also have this come up in the lessons that you do. Okay? All right, so there's the math room. If I go back to the notes, so you'd start out Unit 5 Module 1. Here's the Smartboard file for that, practice sheets. This is just going to give you a file for you to look through of all the different practice sheets there are, so you find the one that looks good to you that I've downloaded. In the Smartboard file, it is similar to last year's. I looked through last year's stuff and this year's stuff and added on or took away some things there. So it starts off with the pretest, whether or not you want to give that out, same as last year on our revamp. And then starting with the doorbell ring, the book, and acting it out together using counters and plates and going through that book and learning what division actually means through cookies, the idea of cookies. You can check out this girl's blog of what she did with the doorbell ring if you want more of an idea, okay? You're like, oh, that's going to take me more than one day. Then spend however long you need if you think it is beneficial for your class, okay? If I look at the Smartboard file, it's going to go through these notes the exact same way. As I said, it is almost the same as last year. I have the warm-up, whether you want one or not. And then it goes into the pretest, the doorbell rang, and then it goes into day 2. With the warm-up, you have drawing a horse and then making your horse piece in your room, your poster, and coming up with your multiplication and division sentence for each one. And then you have some practice pages, which you'll find those, like I said, in the practice sheets to look through. So you could find this particular one in there with skateboards and what else? Octopus. Okay. And then you go to day 3. Let's go back to this. If I scroll down, day 3, and more warm-up, same. You're going to go through some multiplication division situations, and then same thing the next day, with both of them having some practice sheets if you want to include those. So there was a new, I'm going to erase this one, okay? There's a new tech-enhanced Google Slide activity from Bridges, but that's going to come in later. So you have your situations here. They'd be on like a whiteboard, and you guys are discussing whether we're going to multiply or divide to figure out our answer. Knowing that multiplication is going to be repeated addition, whereas division is going to be repeated subtraction. So if I counted 40 fingers, for example, then I'd say, how many hands would that be? Well, I could go, well, 40 minus 5 would be one hand. Minus 5 would be another hand. Minus 5 would be another hand. How many times am I going to have to subtract 5? So that's what division actually means, right? I'm going to divide to figure out how many of those 5s do I have in the number 40 before I don't have any of those hands left. Okay? All right. Moving on. All right, let's go to the next section, Module 2. Same idea here. You have a Smartboard file going for Module 2, and the practice sheets are the same as above, but you'll just look through there and find the ones you need. So you start off now by looking at arrays. And yes, you've already looked at arrays together earlier in the year, and now you're going to do it again. But this time you're going to get out those tiles and those red linear units so they can really see it in front of them. And what do I mean by that? If I go to Module 2 and I scroll up, you will see, again, a warm-up, and then me saying, oh, there's the, go ahead and construct a 4x3 array with your colored tiles, and then they'll try to do it, and then you show them, okay, this is what it looks like. And out of this array, we can come up with 4 equations out of this. One of them is 4 groups of 3, is 12. Right? I have 4 groups of 3, and I can actually circle it with them. 1 group of 3, 2 groups of 3, 3 groups of 3, 4 groups of 3. Okay? And now up here I can press this clear ink button to say, all right, I have another fact I could come up with. 3 groups of 4. Right? I could also show that. 3 groups of 4. And I could circle it that way. Right? So each time I'm showing where you see that in your tiles. And now we could come up with even more, because if I have 12 tiles and I divide them up into groups of 3, there they are, into groups of 3, how many groups of 3 am I able to make? Here's 1 group of 3, 2 groups of 3, 3 groups of 3, 4 groups of 3. And then one more, 12 divided up into groups of 4. Well, I was able to make 1 group of 4, 2 groups of 4, 3 groups of 4. Okay, so it's showing that an array can give us the fact family, okay, and working on coming up with those fact families. All right, and as you scroll through, if you'd like some word problems to go with those instead, I made some word problems that you could say, well, which one goes with 12 divided by 4? Which one of these represents that? Or if you're like, no, that's too much, I'm not going to do that, you choose. Okay, and then you have some practice sheets of coming up with those fact families. Okay, and then you move on, you have your warm-up, you go into let's work on some more fact families, right? Or coming up with the unknowns in various multiplication problems, which yields itself to division. All right, so just more practice pages. Then the next day is going to be warming up again and then looking at the 2 different ways of thinking about division. So you have a situation, which you pretty much are just like talking through this situation about Teresa and acting it out. So if I have 24 stickers and I'm taking those 24 stickers and I'm putting them into groups of 6. I'm like putting 6 stickers on each page. How many pages am I going to be able to make, right? How many groups of 6 am I going to actually be able to make? So that's thinking about division in a certain way. And you can practice that through Greg Tang, through the Break Apart site. And I am talking through it here in about a 2-minute video. And I allude to the sticker situation, okay? And then there's another way to think about division. Instead of 24 students divided into groups of 6 students, it's going to be 24 students divided into 6 groups. So now I'm trying to find how many are in each group. So I again practice using Break Apart, and I have a video that I'm loading up here of me talking through that, and I allude again to this situation of students and tables, okay? Probably might want to spend more than a day on that, okay? I'm looking at 2 different ways of division. There's a new tech-enhanced Google Slide activity from Bridges for you to peruse through on fact families if you're interested in using that, okay? All right, then you have module 3 and 4 that are both on the same Smartboard file right here, okay? And this is all multiplication division stories, okay? In module 3, you're looking at story after story after story after story and working on story problems with multiplication division. Again, there are some new tech-enhanced Google Slide activities for you to peruse and see if you like those too to make use of. And if I look at the Smartboard file of that, if you remember these ones, there are warm-up problems if you want to use them. I have you practicing some more facts if you want it off the practice pages, up to you, whether you like that or not. But then the situations are, you know, I give out various numbers and words, and here was the equation you use to solve the actual question. So if this problem was about fish and aquariums and the number 7 and 28, and we ended up doing 28 divided by 7 to figure out the answer, what was the situation? Right? And then we show them what the situation was, and we figure out the answer. Then we do it again, but this time with kittens and milk, all right? And then in module 4, we end with area. And you guys have already worked through area a lot in Number Corner, and now it's just working on it again in regular math time and bringing it back in. There's the piles of tiles task, which you may have remembered doing. This is on the same Smartboard file as the one we just looked at with the word problems, but if I scroll all the way down, you're going to find piles of tiles, okay, where you do your notice wonder. And you could go to this site and find more about it, okay, for Act 2 and Act 3. And then just practicing with it, with the actual tiles and seeing various things around the room like this, the area of a picture book. So go ahead and take your tiles and see what it is with tiles, or use a ruler, okay? But we're trying to get them to see those square units. And then we have practice pages just like this where they literally see the squares. Okay, and we use our multiplication sentence or our repeated addition to help us solve it. All right, other great resources to make use of are in the math room that I showed you, the book read-alouds. There are some math flips that I've used before and I've put as warm-ups for you in past years. You can look through that site if you're interested. Mathagon is on the math room, but another great one for kids to log into and practice daily, logged in. And then Break Apart, which is what I showed you earlier. Now, all this is not set in stone, so you decide what is good for your kids, and know the main idea is multiplication, division, and yeah, all right? Okay.